The laugh that echoed across the stars the Galactic Council chamber was full. Dozens of alien leaders sat in glowing seats, eyes blinking, tentacles twitching, jaws clicking. Everyone waited for the human demonstration. In the center of the room, a large screen flickered to life. A human officer in gray uniform stood tall, calm, and confident. His name was Commander Rourke. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "this is the HRC-7 railgun." The screen showed a long metal barrel mounted on a rotating turret. It didn't glow. It didn't hum with energy. It didn't look dangerous at all. Rourke continued. "It fires a tungsten rod using magnetic force. Speed, over 15,000 meters per second. Range, classified. Power, unlimited." The council chamber went silent for a moment, then exploded in laughter. "A metal stick?" shouted the Zarnathi Prime. "No energy blade? No plasma charge?" mocked the Threx ambassador. "It looks like a mining tool." Another alien cried out. Even the oldest races, the ones who fought in ancient Star Wars, shook their heads and chuckled. But one alien didn't laugh. His name was Drellin. He was from a quiet species known as the Kef. They never spoke much in council meetings. But Drellin was not just a diplomat. He was also a weapons analyst. He leaned forward and watched the demonstration again, eyes narrowing. The screen showed the railgun firing. A blast of air, a flash. Then the test target, a thick metal plate, was gone. Not damaged, gone, vaporized. The other delegates didn't care. They were still laughing. "Earth's toys," someone whispered. Rourke gave a small smile. "You may laugh, but we recommend you do not." And with that, the screen went black. Later that evening, Drellin locked himself inside his quarters. He replayed the video over and over. He ran the footage through his scanner. The heat levels, the entry wound, the exit wound, if it could be called that. "No radiation," he whispered. "No energy signature, no explosive charge, only force. Pure force." His tentacle trembled as he opened a classified database. Impact weapons of ancient civilizations. Railguns, coil guns, mass drivers. All banned for a reason. "They're not using ore magic," Drellin whispered. "They're using physics and turning it into terror." He checked the footage frame by frame. The rod entered the test plate. At Mach 45, the shockwave alone could collapse a city. But it made no sound, no warning. Just one shot, and that was when Drellin understood something the others didn't doubt. It didn't matter if Earth had one railgun or 1,000. It didn't matter if it could be shot down or not. What mattered was what it meant. Humanity had chosen a weapon that ignored all modern defenses. No shield could stop it. No AI could predict it. No armor could hold against it. That it wasn't just a weapon, that it was a message. 3 days later, a council. Ship vanished near Sector 12. No distress call. No black box. Only a faint metallic trace left in the vacuum. Most said it was pirates. Drellin knew better. He requested a private meeting with the security board. He brought the footage, the analysis, the historical patterns, the orbital maps, but they laughed. "Again, are you saying Earth used that ... toy on one of our ships?" Drellin stood silently. "I'm saying we shouldn't laugh anymore." But no one listened. That night, Drellin left the Galactic Station on a private shuttle. He didn't take his staff. He didn't leave a note. He simply disappeared. Some said he ran. Some said he went to Earth. Back on Earth, Commander Rourke stood in a hangar deep underground. His railgun prototype had already been upgraded. Longer barrel, newer coil array, higher impact rounds. A young technician stood beside him. "Sir, they're mocking us everywhere. Says our tech is outdated." Rourke smiled. They laughed at planes when they had balloons. They laughed at rockets when they had horses. They laughed at us because they don't understand what fear really is. He picked up a small metal slug and turned it in his fingers. Let them laugh, he said, because when the first ship explodes without warning, without heat, without a sound. He looked toward the dark tunnel where the railgun stood, ready to fire. They won't be laughing anymore. In the far reaches of space, a small cargo ship drifted near a dead zone. It was silent. Empty. And drifting beside it, floating without sound, was a shard of alien hull melted at the edges, cleanly sliced in half. The stars watched silently. Something had changed, and the laugh that once echoed across the stars was beginning to fade. The first ship that disappeared, the Vorax Empire, did not laugh. They never did. When Earth showed its railgun at the Council, most aliens mocked it, but the Vorax just watched. Silently, coldly. They were warriors. And warriors don't laugh at weapons. They test them. So they sent a ship, the VNS Torgal, a mid-sized cruiser, cloaked and armed, entered human space near the asteroid belt. Its mission was simple: scan, gather data, and leave quietly. It never came back. The Council received the report 2 days later. No contact, said the Vorax commander, his voice hard. No signal, no debris. The Torgal is gone. The laughter that once filled the council chambers was gone too. Now there was only silence. Some believed it was an accident asteroids, maybe a reactor failure. But Commander Razik of the Vorax knew better. He had studied humans. He had studied war. So he sent a second ship, VNC Drecker, with 2 scout drones and 3 patrol escorts. This time he stayed back and watched from a distance. On board VNS Drecker, the crew felt nothing unusual. Quiet space, cold stars, radar showed nothing. Then one blip. A long, thin object, moving fast. Too fast. Object incoming. The pilot shouted. But before anyone could speak again, clang, the hull shook. The front section of the ship went dark. Then silence. No explosions, no warning. Just one impact. By the time the escort ships turned to help, the Drecker had already split in half. The front end drifted like a dead whale. The back end sparked, lights flickering, air hissing. Into space. One of the drones caught the footage. One frame. One flash, and a perfectly round hole in the Drecker's command deck. Back at Vorax High Command, Razik reviewed the footage. His dark eyes narrowed. No heat signature, he whispered. No energy trail, no charge-up time. He turned to his officers. What did the humans do? No one answered. The technician zoomed in on the final frame. It showed a long, metallic trail, thin as a needle cutting through space like death itself. And that's when Razik finally said what no one wanted to believe. They hit us with a railgun. On Earth, deep below sea level, Commander Rourke stood inside Control Room 7. The walls were lined with monitors. Each screen showed a part of space, quiet space. But they weren't watching space. They were watching reactions. Vorax just lost 2 ships, said the technician. No official statement. But they're moving more assets to the border. Rourke nodded. And the Council? They're starting to whisper, sir. Still not panicking. They will. He turned to the main screen. A single word blinked. Read, Impact Sion-Vi Aramid. Rourke smiled. In a distant moon station. The Zarlathi ambassador was pacing. This is absurd, he hissed. How can primitive humans destroy a Vorax cruiser? Twice. His aide trembled. Sir, they're not primitive. Their weapons are just different. The ambassador turned sharply. Different doesn't matter. We have shields. We have AI countermeasures. They shouldn't be able to do this. But even as he spoke, a secret report flashed across his screen. Recovered sensor logs. From the last second of the Torgal, just one image, his shape barely visible. A round slug, metallic. Silent. There were no flames. No energy blast. Just speed. Back in deep space, an old trader ship picked up a strange signal. Static. Then a voice. This is VNS Drecker. We're hit. No survivors. Unknown weapon. Repeat. Unknown. Then silence. The trader didn't wait. He turned his ship around and jumped to hyperspace. He didn't even log the coordinates, but the voice spread across channels, across species, across the stars. A week later, the council met again. This time, there was no laughter. No jokes, only fear. Ambassadors argued. Earth is testing illegal weapons. No proof it was them. They warned us. We ignored it. We must respond before they strike again. But no one noticed Drellin missing since the first meeting. Some said he left for Earth. Some said he warned them all and vanished. Some believed he had already chosen a side. Back on Earth, Rourke stood in front of a new screen. It showed 7 railgun platforms in orbit, each loaded, each hidden. The technician asked, "Sir, was this a test?" Rourke shook his head. "No," he said. "That was just the first warning." He looked up at the stars. They sent a ship into our space without asking. We answered with silence. Next time, we won't be so quiet. In the shadows between stars, the galaxy held its breath. The humans had shown something worse than power. They had shown patience. And now, fleets began to move not toward Earth, but away from it. The trial run over Vaxxer 6. The skies above Vaxxer 6 shimmered with heat. It was a peaceful colony, mostly farms, water plants, and scanner towers. Children played near solar wells. Traders came and went. And above it all, one human defense ship floated in orbit like a silent guardian. The ship was called Ravenmark. Old, not very large, but heavily armored and cold as iron. Its crew called it the Ghost in the Sky. Locals thought it was boring. Until the day the alien fleet arrived. 12 ships came out of warp over Vaxxer 6. Vorax, Zarnithi, Threx, even a few hired mercenary vessels. A mixed fleet, united by one mission: pressure Earth into surrendering its new weapons. But this wasn't an invasion. It was a message. They would fly in, surround the planet, block transmissions, and force negotiations. They expected the humans to panic, maybe fire a few shots, maybe beg for terms. Instead, Ravenmark powered up. Inside the bridge, Captain Elise Carter sat calmly. She was young, sharp-eyed, and very quiet. Her voice never rose. Her orders were simple. Her mind was steel. "Status?" she asked. "Railgun charged," said her weapons officer. "All 3 barrels. Targets locked." Response from now: "Fleet? No transmission. Just holding pattern. Weapons hot." She nodded. "Then we show them." The alien fleet's leader, Commander Seldrin of the Zarnithi, was confused. He watched the tiny human ship on his tactical display. It didn't cloak, didn't retreat, didn't open communication. "Scan that ship again," he ordered. Already did. Primitive coil weapon detected. Low energy signature. He laughed. "So Earth's best is ... one old gunboat?" That was the last time he would laugh. Ravenmark fired. No sound. No flash. Just a thin silver rod launched at a fraction of light. Speed. It struck the Zarnithi command cruiser, dead-center. In 1 second. 900 crew members were turned to vapor. The ship's core split open like a fruit. The other alien ships froze before they could react. Ravenmark fired again. Another rod. Another ship, this one, a Threx destroyer, split in 2, its engines tumbling into orbit like glowing bones. Panic followed. Some ships tried to run. Others fired blindly at Ravenmark, hoping to overwhelm its shields. But that's the thing, Ravenmark didn't use shields. It didn't need to dock by the time the first plasma bolt reached it. 2 more alien ships were gone, one hit from the front, another from below. The entire attack fleet broke apart within 90 seconds. On the surface of Vaxxer, 6 farmers stared into the sky. They didn't see the battle, but they heard it deep booms that echoed in the clouds, like thunder from the stars. One child pointed up and whispered, "Is Earth angry?" His mother pulled him close and replied, "No, sweetie. Earth is protecting." U.S. In the Council War Room, live feeds showed the alien fleet scattering. Only 4 ships escaped. None dared fire again. Message appeared on every alien command console at once. This was a demonstration. The next one is war. Earth Defense Command. The room fell silent. An old ambassador whispered, "They didn't attack. They warned." Back on Ravenmark, Captain Carter stood with her arms behind her back. "Damage report?" she asked. "None, ma'am," replied her engineer. "They didn't land a single shot." She nodded once. "Send the cleanup drones. Save survivors if you can. Then power down the gun." The crew looked at her in shock. "Ma'am, that was a perfect strike." "Should we celebrate?" Captain Carter shook her head. "No," she said quietly. "We're not here to win. We're here to warn." In the black of space, a satellite recorded the wreckage, spinning pieces of gold armor, fragments of engines, a shredded fleet floating, broken, defeated. And in the middle of it, one lonely ship, Ravenmark, drifting like a shadow. It had no banners. No glowing core. No fanfare. Just a long metal rail and a silent message burned into the stars. "Ever again mock Earth." They called it Project Spinebreaker many years before the battle at Vaxxer 6, before the Council ever heard of. A railgun. There was only a quiet room, hidden deep beneath the Arctic ice. No windows. No sunlight. Just frost-covered steel and blinking red lights. Inside that room, 12 humans stood around a table. They were not generals. They were not politicians. They were builders. And they had just made a decision that would change the galaxy. Dr. Alia Monroe, lead physicist, tapped the metal table. "We're not building a weapon," she said. "We're building a lesson." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. Spinebreaker will not just break ships. It will break certainty. It will tell the galaxy one thing: never underestimate us again. No one clapped. No one cheered. They simply nodded. And began. Built it in silence. Not in labs. Not in shipyards. But in frozen vaults. In abandoned mines. In orbiting debris fields where no one looked. They didn't use alien crystals or magic. Plasma. They used steel. Magnets. Math. And one terrible idea. What? If we could turn gravity into a bullet? The first railgun was 120 meters long. A simple magnetic launcher, cold, brutal, precise. They fired it once. The rod went through 5 kilometers of rock, disappeared into the ocean, and caused a quake that registered in 4 countries. The test was labeled Classified Geological Event. Later versions became smaller, faster, deadlier. A round the size of a crowbar could slice a battleship in half. No light. No heat. No warning. Just impact. One engineer whispered, "It's like sending God's finger through the stars." The name stuck. They called the weapon Spinebreaker because it didn't aim for the head. It aimed for the heart and shattered it. But they didn't stop there. They built orbital coils, hidden in asteroid fields, rail platforms buried inside moons, satellite, cannons shaped like abandoned junk. Each one silent, each one watching. Waiting. And Earth never told anyone. When alien diplomats visited Earth, they were shown gardens, music, peace treaties. They saw smiling humans, open arms, kind faces. They didn't see the railguns behind the clouds. They didn't know Earth had already tested them on meteors, old stations, and once on a pirate base that simply vanished from space. Dr. Monroe stood inside Vault 9 one night, looking at the latest railgun design. A younger technician asked, "Why build something like this?" "We already have nukes," she answered without turning. "Nukes scream, railguns whisper." The technician looked confused. Monroe continued, "The galaxy fears loud power, but true power is silent, swift, final." She placed the hand on the cold steel of the launcher. "This is not for conquest. This is for memory. We won't be laughed at again." 1 month before the council laughed at the demo, Spinebreaker was already watching. Every time an alien ship scanned Earth, a railgun locked on. Every time a treaty was broken, a turret quietly turned. And every time Earth was insulted, one name was added to a silent list. The council thought Earth was slow, weak, too peaceful. But behind the smiles were magnets. Behind every delay was testing. Behind every handshake was a railgun already aimed. After the Vaxxer 6 incident, when Earth destroyed 4 ships in under 2 minutes, the council began to ask, how did they make this? Where did it come from? Who gave them the knowledge? Number. One gave answers. Because there were none. No alien help. No stolen tech. Just humans. Their fear and their memory. They laughed at Earth. So Earth built a machine that doesn't laugh. It just ends things. Quietly. Cleanly. Word. Now. Across space. Fragments of Spinebreaker's tests still float in the void. Pieces of unknown stations. Empty hulls split like glass. Every time an alien explorer stumbles across them, they shiver. No energy readings. No warnings. Just clean cuts and cold silence. One old human transmission still echoes across deep space probes. We don't seek war, but we remember how to finish one. Project Spinebreaker. The Council's last stand, the Galactic Council, was done talking. After the destruction at Vaxxer 6. After the footage of Ravenmark's railgun went viral across the stars. After whispers of Spinebreaker began to spread in backrooms and war. Rooms alike, the laughing had stopped, but so had the waiting. The Council decided to strike. They called it Operation Iron Leash. 300 warships. Every class, every size. From stealth cutters to heavy dreadnoughts. All heading toward Earth. The plan was simple. Show overwhelming force. Surround the Sol system, disable Earth's weapons, and force them into submission. They still didn't understand. Inside the lead ship VCS Honorbound, Admiral Senverine stood with pride. He was Threxian tall, four-eyed, proud of tradition and rank. "We give them one final chance to surrender," he said, arms behind his back. "If they refuse, we erase their sky." His officers nodded, confident, calm, arrogant. They entered. The edge of Sol space. Sensors swept wide. No resistance. They passed Mars. No contact. They approached Earth orbit. Still nothing. Then the stars went dark. Across the fleet, power flickered. Static washed over comms. Weapons failed to lock. Navigation scrambled. Something was jamming them, but it wasn't a signal. It was gravity. From behind Earth's moon, it emerged. A railgun platform the size of a city coated in black dust, hidden for years inside the moon's crust. Coding name. Spinal Gate. It fired once. The VCS Honorbound disappeared. No explosion. No wreckage. Just erased. Turned to particles smaller than dust. Panic tore through the Council fleet. Ships scrambled, trying to reposition. Orders clashed. Signals died. Engines burned hot and loud. Then, from the asteroid belt, 6 more railguns. Powered up. These weren't ships. These were traps. They had waited for this day. Within 72 seconds, 40 ships were gone. Within 5 minutes, the number was 90. Some fired blindly into the void. Others tried to jump. Only a few succeeded. A small ship named Kalen's Light, carrying a communications officer from the Yalari race, escaped by luck. She recorded everything. The silence, the strikes, the way ships tore in half, with no heat or warning. She sent the footage to every channel in the Onlay Galaxy. Her final message: they don't fight like us. They don't need to fight. They just wait. And then they erase you. Back on Earth, Commander Rourke stood in front of a quiet display. All enemy ships were marked in red. One by one, the red dots blinked out. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just turned to his staff. Status: minimal power used. All rail platforms at 70% or higher. 0 human casualties. He nodded. Good. Tell them we are still open to peace. Across the galaxy, the surviving council ships limped home. Burning, broken, silent. Some had holes through their bridges. Others had crew missing, taken by pressure loss, rail hits, or trauma. Admiral Varin's name was never spoken again, because no one knew where he went. No wreckage, no body, just a streak of dust in the stars. The council reconvened weeks later. This time, there were empty seats. Many leaders did not return. Some went into hiding. Others began secret talks with Earth. Ambassador stood slowly. The age of council rule is over, he said. We mocked them. We underestimated them. But humans did not come to conquer. They only wanted to be left alone. Someone asked, what do we do now? The answer was simple. We survive. That same night, in a secret Earth base, a small team deactivated one of the Railgun satellites. Not because it was broken, but because they didn't need all of them anymore. The message had already been delivered, not with speeches, not with parades, but with silence and ruin. The silence of the galaxy. Months passed after the Council's failed attack on Earth. No more fleets came. No more demands. No more laughter. Across the stars, planets whispered Earth's name, but never out loud. Not in public. Not on open channels. Just soft words in dark rooms. They erased 300 ships. They never used shields. They didn't chase us. They let us run. No one knew what Earth wanted. That made it worse. On the planet Dalar, a young alien child stared at the sky every night, asking her mother, are the humans still up there? Her mother pulled her close and said, yes, that's why it's safe now. The Galactic Council no longer met in grand halls. Too many members had left. Too many worlds had gone silent. A new chamber was formed, small, cold, hidden underground. There were no flags, no speeches, only fear. A new rule was passed. No ship may enter soul space without written request and delay beacon. All agreed. No one objected, because deep down, they all knew Earth was not defending itself anymore. It was. Watching in the outer rim, smugglers changed routes. Even pirates refused jobs near Earth. That one old captain told his crew, you don't need shields to stop a railgun. You need a prayer and distance. Meanwhile, on Earth, there was no celebration. No monuments. No live streams. Commander Rourke stood on a balcony watching the sunrise. Beside him was Dr. Alia Monroe, the mind behind Project Spinebreaker. They're scared of us now, she said softly. Rourke didn't reply at first. He just watched the clouds move. Then, he said, that's not what I wanted. Then what did you want? She asked. He looked toward the sky. Respect. Across the galaxy, something unexpected happened. Species once divided, once hostile, began talking to each other. Old enemies made treaties. Border wars stopped. Armies shrank. Why? Because they were no longer afraid of each other. They were afraid of something else. In a dusty university. On the planet Zarnes, a history professor taught a new lesson. Humanity did not win a war, he told his students. They never declared one. They simply ended it. A student raised her hand. But what if we fight them again? The professor shook his head. There won't be a second time. On a quiet moon, a council scientist stood before the wreckage of a once great warship. He touched the hull. It was clean, smooth, cut by a railgun in one perfect strike. He whispered to himself, no fire, no chaos, just gone. He uploaded his findings, then deleted his own logs. He would never speak of Earth again. A secret message was sent from a council leader to Earth. We understand now. We will never test your silence again. Please accept our peace. Earth replied with one word, acknowledged. In the sky above Earth, the railguns remained sleeping, dismantled, not paraded, just silent. They did not aim. They did not glow. They simply existed. And that was enough. On a quiet evening, a young girl on Earth asked her father, will there be another war? He shook his head gently. No, sweetie. Not while they remember what happened. She looked up, wide-eyed. What did happen? He paused and said, we asked them to leave us alone. Did they? Yes. Why? He smiled sadly. Because they finally believed we meant it. In the silence of space, broken fleets still floated. Not as warnings. Not as trophies. Just reminders that somewhere out there, behind blue skies and calm voices, was a planet that did not scream to be heard. It only whispered once, and the whole galaxy listened. The weapon that changed everything in the years that followed the silent war. The galaxy looked different. No new wars. No border fights. No invasions. Not because the council made peace. Not because diplomacy worked. But because one weapon had made every species stop and think, if that's what they made in silence, what else are they hiding? The railgun had no throne. No name carved in stone. No monument in Earth's capital. Yet it changed more than any emperor, more than any battle, more than any treaty. It didn't just destroy fleets. It destroyed pride. It erased arrogance. It redefined fear. In the Galactic Academy on Talva Prime, a young student asked, why didn't humans use their power to rule us? Her teacher answered, because that's not why they built it. Then why did they build it? The teacher paused. And finally said, to never be laughed at again. A new rule spread across space, unspoken, unwritten. Do not provoke Earth. Not because they would invade, but because they wouldn't. They would end it. Quickly. Quietly. Without a speech, without a warning. Old council veterans still told stories. I saw the sky blink. One said, I heard a sound like the air being cut. Said another, I watched 5 ships die, and no one knew what killed them. None of them knew exactly what a railgun round looked like in flight. Because by the time they saw it, it was already over. Earth changed. 2. Grew quieter. More focused. More united. They no longer rushed to impress the galaxy. They didn't beg to join alliances. They didn't advertise their strength. They simply waited. And listened. Commander Rourke retired and vanished into the mountains. No interviews. No medals. When asked why he never took credit, he said, I didn't fire the railgun for glory. I fired it so no child on Earth would ever hide from alien ships again. Dr. Alia Monroe returned to her university. She never built another weapon. When her students asked about Spinebreaker, she only said, we built it because they laughed. We kept it because they didn't listen. And we stopped using it because now they finally understand. And they did understand. Across the stars, species studied human railguns like sacred relics. not to copy, not to steal, but to remember. The day the galaxy changed, not with war cries, but with silence. Memorial was quietly built on an empty moon, got no visitors. No guards, just a stone plate with 10 words. They spoke once. The galaxy listened. No more was needed. Years later, a young alien cadet visited Earth as part of a peace mission. He asked his guide, "Where are the Railguns?" The human smiled and pointed toward the clouds. "They're up there, still watching." The cadet looked nervous. "Are they still active?" The guide didn't answer directly. He just said, "We never fire first, but we never miss either." In that moment, the cadet understood. Earth didn't need to conquer. They didn't want to. They didn't ask for fear, but they were ready for it. They always would be. And somewhere, high above the stars, a forgotten satellite drifted. A railgun. Slept inside it, cold, silent, loaded, still waiting. Not out of hate, not out of anger, but because peace, once broken, only takes one shot to fix again.